Okay, let's get started. Welcome to CSR Marketplace Virtual 2025. In today's session, the new era of workplace giving, meeting donors where they are, sponsored by Submittable. My name is Jean Metzger. I'm the Vice President of Membership Marketing and Communications here at ACCP, and I'm so glad that you've joined us for today's session. This is one of 9 sessions that we're doing this week as part of CSR Marketplace Virtual. You'll see the full schedule on your screen. Registration remains open for the remaining sessions, so we hope you can join us. And each of the sessions are being recorded, and all the recordings will be posted to our website next week and will be available through the end of the year. Before getting started on today's session, I'd like to just highlight a couple ACCP programs that are coming up. Our next members-only topical member discussion will be on signature partnerships on July 10th. We'll be releasing our annual CSR Insights survey results on July 17th. We'll host our monthly membership webinar also on July 17th. Our annual State of the Association meeting will be August 19th. It's a great opportunity to hear about everything that's going on at ACCP, as well as hear from our new CEO, Andrea Wood, and her vision for the future. And we'll be celebrating our 20th anniversary at this year's annual conference in Atlanta on September 15 through 17. We hope that you will join us. And just a note that the early bird registration deadline is tomorrow, this Friday. So please make sure you grab your seat and you get the best registration rate. And we will round up our educational programming for the year on November 12 and 13 with our Employee Engagement Virtual Summit. In addition to these programs, we'll be continue hosting our monthly webinars and our member group meetings. ACCP has been getting out into the community this year. We've been hosting happy hours throughout the country and throughout the US. We have a couple more planned before the end of the year. So we'll be in Minneapolis on July 30th. We'll be in Boston on September 25th. We'll be in New York on October 16th. And we'll be in San Francisco the first week of December. So please keep an eye out for invitations to these events, and I hope you can join us. For those members on the line or those who might be interested in learning more about ACCP membership, we encourage you to visit our membership page. The link appears before you, as well as a QR code to that page. I will drop my email address into the chat, and if you have any questions about ACCP, please reach out. So just a couple housekeeping items for today. We have turned on live transcript in Zoom. So to see the full transcript, just click on the caret on the bottom, and you'll be able to see that information. We do encourage your participation today. Engage with the other participants, engage with the speakers by using the Zoom chat. And we definitely want to hear your questions and answer them. So please, as the program is moving along, as you think of questions, please use the Q&A function and ask them. If you see a question that is also of interest to you, please click on the thumbs up icon. That way we'll prioritize that question. And now let's get started. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speakers. We have Sam Caplan, who's the Vice President of Social Impact at Submittable, Chris Battles, who's the Principal Product Manager at Submittable, and then Madison Silver, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Submittable. So please, looking forward to our presentation today.
Hello, and welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to presenting today and sharing all of our content with Sam and Chris. Today we're going to talk about the new era of workplace giving and actually meeting donors where they are in their day-to-day lives. So just a quick introduction to who we are. My name is Maddie. I've been at Submittable for about coming up on 3 years this summer, which is pretty crazy. And I've been in the CSR social impact space for about 10, always related to marketing, but across a couple different companies. I've run some CSR programs. And I'll pass it on over to Chris.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Battles, and I am the Principal Product Manager of Fintech here at Submittable. I've been at Submittable for probably close to 2 years, but otherwise, I've been in CSR for close to 30. It's actually my first real job out of college.
And hi, everyone. I'm Sam Caplan, and I serve as Vice President of Social Impact here at Submittable. I guess I'm the elder statesman in the group. I've been with the company for a little over 4 years now. Although I've spent a bunch of years also working in CSR and philanthropy, not quite as many as you, Chris. I grew up at the Walmart Foundation, where I was Director of Technology. And I ended up moving across town serving as the Chief Information Officer at the Walton Family Foundation. So super excited to be with everyone today.
Great. Today we're going to go kind of through two different sections. We're going to talk about transforming giving, a vision for the future of employee engagement. So what does the market look like right now and what does the future look like? And then we're going to talk about refreshing our own program. So what we learned by meeting donors where they are, what we heard from customers as well. So we're going to give a couple real life examples on how to take what we're talking about today and implementing it into your own programs. A couple takeaways from today will be how to transform workplace giving from transactional into meaningful, why flexible and personalization are really important and key to donor participation, how to actually meet donors in their flow of life. We're going to talk about some real life examples from us as well as some of our customers. And then we hope that you'll take some actionable next steps to future-proof your giving programs and really make generosity that second nature. We do have one poll that we want to share to kick off our presentation today. So the question is, what do your employees most want from a workplace giving experience? So some of the options are flexibility in how and when they give, simplicity and minimal friction, real-time ways to make an impact, recognition and rewards for participation. If something else is also important to your employees, feel free to throw that in the chat as well. We're interested in kind of a wide variety of what you guys are hearing from your employees. I think it will be open for just a couple more seconds here, about 30 total. Let's go ahead and vote if you haven't.
I kind of wish that I could vote. I know which one is at the top of my list, but maybe we'll share that in a second. Ah,
Awesome. Does that align with what you were going to say, Chris?
yeah, pretty much. Friction is not a helper in these programs. So eliminating it, minimizing it, it's really going to make the world a difference.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, our goal today is to help kind of address all four of those. And so you can walk away with solutions to all four of those pain points. And I'm going to pass this on over to Sam to talk about the market industry.
Thank you, Maddie. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending where in the world you are. I'm super excited to be with you today to talk about transforming workplace giving into something that employees genuinely connect with. And just to start, I'd like to offer a huge thank you to ACCP for the opportunity to share how our team is thinking about the role of technology in employee giving and why, frankly, it's felt broken for quite a long time. Look, we're probably going to mention our platform a few times, but I do want to be clear, like this isn't meant to be a commercial for Submittable. Our real goal is to open up a conversation about what's possible and when we put the employee experience first. So as I mentioned during my intro, I worked as the director of technology at the Walmart Foundation, and I and my team were responsible for all of the software that the company used to power our employee giving and volunteering programs. And I can tell you that, like, no matter how smart and how committed this team was, we constantly ran into the same questions. How do we make these programs more engaging? And how do we actually get people to participate? So today, my teammates and I are excited to dig into these questions and to talk about how we can shift that conversation, how we can reimagine workplace giving with more personalization, more flexibility, and more real-time impact. But before we dig into what that looks like, I just want to set the stage by sharing a few of the pain points that we hear over and over from employees. So the first is that CSR and employee engagement tools were built for a different time. So a lot of the software out there delivers a one-size-fits-all experience that just doesn't really reflect how people want to engage today. Second, employees, especially Gen Z, are feeling kind of frustrated because the tools that we give them to manage these programs often just really limit their options, and they don't meet people where they already are. And then lastly, we think that too many platforms make it difficult to give how and when and where you want to. So even when employees are feeling inspired to give, the moment passes because the software often gets in the way. So a lot of these programs and platforms just weren't built for real-time in the moment engagement, and that's a big missed opportunity. We're not meeting people where they are, we're not letting them give on their own terms. And as a result, we're missing a real chance to boost participation and engagement in a real way. Okay. So here's a couple of data points that I think should make all of us a little bit nervous. So according to CECP's Giving in Numbers report, around 94% of their member organizations offer employee giving and matching and volunteering programs. But the number that really jumps out here is that only around 20% of employees actually take part in those programs. So that difference between the 94% and the 20% is what we call the generosity gap. And honestly, I think this is one of the biggest issues in employee engagement right now, because if people aren't participating, they're not engaging. And when they're not engaging, they're not feeling a sense of purpose or belonging. And that's a really big loss, both for your employees and your company. So I think the real question is like, why is this participation number so low? It's not because employees don't care. We know that they do. There's tons of research out there that shows how much they value purpose and giving back. The real issue, I think, is that the process is too clunky. The technology is outdated and it just doesn't fit how we live and how we work. So if we want people to show up, we've got to make it simple and intuitive and give them the software that they want to use, not the software that they have to wrestle with. So let's talk a little more about technology and how personalization and flexibility and convenience really play into all of this. So if you think about how we use tech today, it's everywhere. We use our phones for pretty much everything, like texting with friends and shopping and learning, and even joining a webinar with people halfway around the world. Technology shapes how we connect with each other, and it personalizes our day-to-day experiences. So, as the headline here says, the age of personalization is already here, and giving should not be an exception. So, if I put that another way, today's employees expect their company's giving and matching and volunteering programs to feel just as seamless and intuitive as everything else that they use in their digital lives. And when giving feels clunky or outdated or like it's a hassle, then it's really out of sync with that experience. And that disconnect then becomes a real barrier to participation. So we are excited to talk with you today about our theory of change on these issues. So to tackle that participation gap, we started by reimagining the software experience behind employee giving and volunteering. Our goal has been to build a platform that makes the experience feel simple and personal and actually enjoyable so that employees feel inspired to get involved and to participate. So we call all of this the Impact Wallet. It's part of our Bright Funds platform. Chris is going to walk you through a little bit more of how it all works in just a couple of minutes. But at the heart of this idea is that if we want people to give, we have to meet them where they are and give them the freedom to participate when and how they really want to. That's how giving becomes more than just a one-time event, and it becomes part of our everyday employee experience and part of our company's culture. So the key idea here is that we shouldn't make people stop what they're doing or carve out extra time or jump through hoops just to participate. The goal is to make giving possible in the moment, whether someone's at their desk or they're on the go or they're not near a laptop at all. And that's really important because one of the biggest barriers to participation is simply remembering to do it or finding the time to log in and then navigate a clunky system to complete a donation. But when we meet people where they are in the flow of their life, we take that friction away. And that's when we think participation really starts to grow. I also think that one of the big things that's been missing from a lot of giving and volunteering programs is integration with the rest of the employee experience. So things like recognition and rewards and wellness and other HR initiatives. So we believe that giving shouldn't be off in its own corner. We think it should be connected to everything else that your company is already doing to engage employees. And one way to make that happen is by allowing companies to reward employees with dollars that they can use to donate to causes that they care most about. So instead of getting a badge or a gift card for completing a wellness challenge or taking a training or hitting a work anniversary, employees could actually get funds that they can use to donate to their favorite causes or charities in a way that feels really personal and meaningful to them. And if you think about it, that's a really powerful thing because it shows that your company supports what your employees care most about, and it helps to build a culture where giving is encouraged and it's a really natural part of their everyday work life. Okay, so just to quickly recap a few points before I hand things over to Chris, who's going to walk you through what all of this looks like in action. So first, if we keep doing things the same old way, we're not going to move the needle on that 20% participation rate. We know that something really has to change. Second, the tools that we give employees have to be modern and flexible and ready for real life. People need to be able to jump in and participate when the moment strikes, not when it's convenient for the platform. And third, it's so important to connect giving with other HR programs that are already in place. So things like wellness challenges and employee recognition and milestone celebrations. It shouldn't feel like giving is a separate program or a separate track. And then finally, Gen Z and especially remote workers, they really want to be part of these programs, but they expect them to be digital first and flexible and full of choices. And if we meet them where they are, I think we'll see that participation and engagement and impact are all going to go way up. So with that, Chris, I'm going to turn things over to you. And by the way, Chris mentioned he's been in this business for 30 years. He and I started working together 12 or so years back during my days at the Walmart Foundation. So I'm super excited to get to work on this initiative and presentation with you, Chris.
You too, sir. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to see what comes next. So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Battles, and it's a pleasure to be speaking with you today. Um, I really like this topic. I think this is a really fun one for us to dive into. Um, I guess I'll kick it off by saying, in every industry, in every role, there's always a moment when the resident expert, they need a little bit of help of their own, right? When you think about it, your therapist, who do they turn to when they need a sounding board? They listen to people day in and day out. They must get down. Or maybe a web designer and they're looking at their layout and they're saying, oh my gosh, this is just not resonating with me anymore. Or let's say a strategist and my strategy is just it's lost its steam. So what we're really looking at here is a universal truth. Even the people who build the systems, the likes of Submittable, we need systems that support us. In my 30 plus years of adulting, I've seen it across all sorts of roles, and it leads me to one of my favorite questions, which I'll say half joking, half seriously. Where does the personal trainer go when they've lost the motivation to hit the gym? Or who helps the IT guy when the Wi-Fi is down? Or my personal favorite, of course, is where does the CSR vendor turn when they want to make their own impact programs more impactful? It's got to be pretty tough, right? We're supposed to be the resident experts, so how can we look inward and answer these questions? And we're going to share some of our secret sauce today. We're going to talk a little bit about how we started refreshing our own internal giving experience, but not from necessarily from the perspective of a vendor, but more as a CSR employee engagement program owner. So just as you all may have engagement programs today, we have that same portfolio in our small but mighty organization. And just like you, we face the same challenges that you do: busy employees, low participation, and sometimes, dare I say, technology that isn't quite matching up with behaviors. And so we decided to ask ourselves, what would this look like if our giving experience felt as natural as, maybe sending a Slack message or ordering a coffee? And what we'll be sharing with you over the next couple of minutes are some of the principles and practices that we use to create something that so far so good seems to really be working. We've been doing this since mid-January, January 15th, and we're managing to accomplish this without requiring any further effort from, and this is perhaps quite important, both employees or administrators. And as Sam mentioned at the top of his presentation, again, I want to reiterate, guys, that this isn't a pitch. What I'm really trying to share with you here are some aspects of what we have here as an evolving playbook that we've tested within our own organization. And so we'll start off here, making it feel familiar. So as both a seller and a buyer of CSR software, one thing that we are acutely aware of is that we just don't have the luxury of training our users to use our platform. This is a benefit. It's not necessarily a role or responsibility that all of our employees have to give. It's something that we share with them because we want to make sure that they're engaged. And so when we set out to refresh our own internal giving program, we focused on really one primary key question. It's how do we make giving feel as easy and intuitive as everything else people do online, right? So if we could somehow adopt the behaviors and the paradigms that users have in their online experience, they would quickly recognize and say, oh, this is just like X, and therefore I already know what to do. I know what the system is going to do when I press this button or take this action. And this meant really trying to align our experiences with the things that everybody already knows. I have some examples here. Nobody ever went to school to learn how to buy a book on Amazon, but they know it's quick and it's effortless, and the checkout process, it just works. Or think about Slack or Teams, right? This is the lifeblood of communication within your organization. How do you keep everybody up to speed on what's going on with these real-time social interactions? Or Apple Pay or Google Pay or Venmo, right? So all of our users, they're already used to moving money around. How can we make moving CSR cash around more familiar so that it feels just like Google Pay or Apple Pay or Venmo or Zelle or all these other dozens of ways to move money from those that have it to those that need it. And perhaps one of my favorite examples, of course, is Netflix, right? How can we make suggestions for giving and volunteering and program alignment that just feels smart and personal? Maybe a little bit creepy because it's almost, spiritual, how they can dive that deeply. But we really want to make sure that our software and our program resonates with our employees because we want to respect the fact that each of our employees is a unique individual. And our idea here wasn't necessarily to copy these tools, but to really look at the best patterns and behaviors that you have across all these wonderful logos. And so we realized that the more our giving experience looks and feels like these familiar tools, the less training we need, and the more that people end up participating. And as I mentioned at the top of my presentation, we're still evolving this. Some of the features like personalized recommendations powered by AI, they're still in development, but we're working on it. And some of the things that we've seen thus far are terrifically powerful. And one of the nice things about it is you go from user to user and you see how the software can actually react accordingly. So it's been really, really invigorating. And I want to remind you that this isn't necessarily exclusive to any one platform. If you're using a system today that allows some customization, you can likely make similar adjustments to follow patterns that your users would otherwise see in these different environments. And that's really the core idea behind our program refresh is the fact that we want to make giving and volunteering and participation feel familiar and not foreign, right? Again, because we don't have this luxury of training. And we're realizing because when the experience blends into these everyday habits, giving will ultimately become second nature, just as easy as clicking on that quick bio button over on Amazon.com. And so to dive a little bit more deeply, a major part of a refresh was giving employees more control over both how and when they give. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm an old dog here in the CSR world, and a lot of the experience, it hasn't changed since I joined CSR close to 30 years ago. And what we're following are these classic patterns of asking people to make a donation and pick a cause in the same moment, And we realized that, hey, that works for a lot of folks, but it may not work for everyone. And if we really want to be successful in our program, we really need to understand that everybody's going to operate a little bit differently. Some people, no offense, I would call them impulse givers. They see the instance, they see the opportunity, they want to press the button to donate immediately when they're moved by some sort of cause or conversation. But then we also have some perhaps more conservative folks out there, others that I would call them social investors. They want time to reflect and research, maybe coordinate with a loved one before they decide to give. It's not about how much; it's about the fact that they're actually engaging. And so what we realized that there was a really opportunity here for us to decouple the act of funding from the act of donating. So employees, they can donate now via all those traditional methods of payroll and credits and personal funds, but they could also donate later whenever the moment actually moves them. And once we launched our program back in January, we quickly realized that this was going to become a game changer. We started to have all sorts of folks that had never classically participated this early in the program. January is often a lull right after the holidays. We had a lot of people engaging right away because there was now an opportunity for them to engage in the way that they want. And this also comes with what we call a practical benefit. So employees, they can receive a tax receipt right away when they make a contribution into their account balance, even if they're just going to decide to send their actual donation to the charity sometime later. And this setup, it allows us to support two really critical things: immediacy and intention. We give employees permission to be thoughtful without actually slowing them down. And yes, technically, we did have to develop some new software to make this possible, but we didn't just do it for us. We did it for the entirety of the Submittable family. We created this wallet system that can hold funds, track usage, and work seamlessly across all sorts of different giving channels. But it was ultimately worth it because it really lets us meet people wherever they are on their giving journey. And perhaps most importantly, this approach, it sends a clear message to our users. There's no right way to be generous. And when we honored it, of course, that's when participation went up. Maddie, I think you have something you want to share.
Yeah, if you want to go to the next slide.
Here comes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to give kind of a real life example. What does this actually look like in practice? And I had a question come through that said, if we don't have money to do matching programs, what are other ways that we can engage? And so I think that this is a really awesome example of how that is. So what our customer decided to do was, instead of give another piece of swag, as Chris talked about, they decided to give credits instead. Swag is great. I love a good t-shirt or fanny pack, but I only need so many. And as I think about like the ongoing impact of these items, what is going to make a longer lasting impact? And it's going to be the ability to donate, versus in my closet upstairs, I have 6 sweatshirts from my time at Lyft and I never wear them. And so while in the moment I really loved it, it didn't actually make any long-term impact. So if you have budget, think about where you're putting that budget. Are you putting it towards a swag item, or can you put it towards a donation credit as a one-time credit, even if you don't have the funds to do long-term matching and giving? So for here, they gave a $50 donation credit during their SKO. To all employees who came, and there were no restrictions behind it. It was flexible, it was in their account, and then their employees could use it whenever they wanted to. And what was really great was one employee came back and told us that she was able to donate to her daughter's fundraiser. It was incredibly simple. She was able to use her $50 employer credit to make her contribution much more meaningful. She was able to have a bigger impact on her daughter's school experience than just her own personal funds. So she donated $50 and the additional $50 from her company, and it made her have a $100 impact directly to her daughter's fundraiser. And so it was showing both like the company is able to invest in what matters to employees. She could use her company rewards wherever she wanted to and make a really big impact in the moment for her daughter's fundraiser. Chris, back to you.
Back to me. All right. So next up, another item in our program refresh, we asked ourselves another question, and it was, how can we connect generosity to everyday moments that really matter to employees? And recognition for us was an obvious place to start. Our teams were already, as Maddie mentioned, we're giving kudos back and forth in Slack and Teams, celebrating work anniversaries, giving people virtual high fives and completing trainings and wellness challenges. But what was really missing there between all these different actions was the opportunity to give swag, stuff we always get. It collects dust in the corner, but if we can convert that into a giving opportunity, there's something really, really personal about being able to give to a charity that is really, really close to home. And so what we did was we started to layer lightweight rewards, not breaking the budget, but small amounts of donor-directed giving uh, that allows us to unlock these responses to meaningful moments, right? So when an employee accomplishes a material goal or they're the unsung hero award, we have an opportunity to give them literally like $5, right? So nobody's bank is going to be broken for $5. But it does really, really go a long way. But I would rather get a $5 charitable contribution opportunity than get yet another T-shirt and yet another Yeti mug. Although I do love my Yeti mug, there's so many adjustments to be made. And another interesting thing that we notice is that uh, when you're recognized by your peers and partnering this with the charitable contribution, it really, really means, twice as much. Or maybe it's maybe not necessarily a peer, but maybe it's your supervisor or somebody really high up in the food chain of the organization getting this recognition in combination with the cash donation. It's really, really powerful. And when we started to embed these things inside of our programs, our fellow team members, they really, really started to respond. So much so, we had to kind of go back and check the books and make sure that everything was actually operating correctly. And sure enough, the fact that the engagement was growing by these double digits, it's because it was so powerful, it was so fun, it was so friendly. And we quickly realized that all of our peers were really starting to bask in this idea of it really feels good to do good. It feels good to recognize your peers. And what was really, really interesting about this also is that we found a way to make this work uh, in the donor's otherwise flow of life, right? So we didn't need any additional systems to log into, no crazy complicated redemption processes. We just managed to start to do recognition over Slack. So when we gave one of our peers a virtual kudo, everybody else got to see how awesome Maddie was for organizing the wallet launch. And oh, by the way, Maddie actually got something material in return, be it a couple of bucks here into her wallet for a donation to her favorite charity. And I think another thing that's important to notice here is that we didn't necessarily invent a new program. We just connected recognition to giving in a way that really, really felt natural. And this helped us reinforce a broader goal. We really are trying to focus on building a culture of generosity that is really part of our rhythm of work. We are a virtual business largely, and maintaining this connectivity amongst the team members is really, really critical to us. And the fact that it has to feel natural and not bolted on, we do think that it was a bit of a coup. Maddie, another one for you.
Oh, one back.
I
Oh,
think we're both pressing the buttons. Why don't
you
you
go
press
for
the
it. You
buttons?
go for it.
All right, I'll go back one.
Okay. Oh, the other direction.
There we go.
Shared controls of slides is great until that happens.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, I want to talk about our own personal program here. So as Chris was talking about, our this Lattice Kudos Shout Out program. So we have always had this. You are able to go into Lattice, which is where we do one-on-ones, reviews, and other things like that. If you guys use Lattice, you know it's a really great software. And you can say thank you so much to this employee or to a couple employees. I really appreciated that you went above and beyond. And then it shows up in a Slack channel, and everyone can see it. And so we've always had decent engagement in this. I did a quick math, and it looked like about 20 shout shout outs per month, which honestly, of a company of about 300 employees is pretty decent. But then we decided to launch our giving connection to it. And so we decided to give $5 rewarded to every teammate that receives a Lattice shout out. So if you get that shout out that says, thank you so much for going above and beyond, you get $5 in credit. And in April was our peak so far. We had 81 shout outs. And on average, it's been about 75 plus per month. So that's almost a 300% increase in engagement. It was really cool to see if you give money to people, it's not the person giving the shout out that's getting that credit, it's the person receiving it. But that person is able to recognize that they're not only giving their peer a nice comment, they're actually giving them funds to be able to go donate. It's not their personal funds, it's company money, but we've really seen it drastically increase engagement. Related to a couple questions that I saw. So one question that came through was, how do you encourage employees to participate with managing limited company funds? Are you concerned about depleting funds too early? So we went through that. We had to limit it to only 4 per employee. And I think in the first 2.5 months of running it, I got 3 of them. And so it was exciting. It's cool. I know that I can only get 1 more throughout the year, and that hasn't stopped people from recognizing me, even though there is a limit there. Additionally, I think you should maybe turn that on its head. Are you worried about depleting funds too early, or is it a way for you to go back to your leadership and say, look at how engaged employees are. Let's talk about how I can get more budget for next year. If you have $10,000 or $100,000 to give to your employees, does it matter if it's given out in the first 6 months of the year or across all 12 months? It's the same money and it's going to the same nonprofits that those employees really care about. It's just getting spread across a different time frame. And I think that's a really great way to then go back to your leadership and say, look at how much engagement we have. We can and ask for more budget. We have several customers every year that go through that, where they continue to increase their budget because they ran out before the end of the year, and every year they continue to grow engagement and funds. And so I don't think it's a problem to deplete it too early. You could also then spread it out. You could say in the first 6 months, we give 2 shout outs, you get credit, and then the second 6 months, you can earn up to 2 more. So you also have the ability to control it on the back end. We were able to set this up completely automatically. So DJ, who runs our employee engagement programs, doesn't have to manually go through and track them and send the money out at the end. She's able to just have it automatically run on the end. And so you could set up those parameters, 2 in the first 6 months and 2 in the second, if you wanted to make sure that the funds don't run out too quickly. All right.
Oh, did it again. Too many cooks. So folks, back to me. The final piece of our refresh, we wanted to focus on eliminating friction. Friction is those tiny little barriers that make giving harder really than it needs to be. We realize that when someone feels inspired to give, that window of intention is excruciatingly short. If they have to log in, if they have to remember password, if they have to wait for approval, the moment will often pass and the opportunity is just gone. It's vapor. And so we looked for ways to support instant action. We wanted to let employees donate from their phone at a live event or right when they visit a nonprofit's website. And so we introduced a new capability. It's a tap to give capability that allows donors to give with just one step. No logins, no forms, nothing. It's literally just a tap and a go. This was found to be particularly powerful during real world moments. So not driving a desk, but actually looking the charity in the eye. Think of being at a bake sale or some sort of fundraiser. We by being just like face to face with these folks, it's really reinforcing that connection. And instead of people saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it later, you're just able to act, boom, right then and there with no delays, no reimbursement, no additional steps. And of course, you're going to say, well, how do we do that? Was this an easy plug and play feature? No, it's a tough one to build, but we did build some new infrastructure to support it. It's now available to all submittable customers, but damn, it was worth it. It's really awesome to be able to move money from my virtual wallet to any charity in 3 seconds or less. And we're realizing when we finally removed this logistical friction, we really started to see generosity start to pick up amongst our employee base. Employees weren't just willing to give, they started to become eager to give because it was just so fast. One more for Maddie.
Yeah, here's our last example for today. So giving directly with our impact card. An employee was invited to donate to her stepdaughter's school fund run. And it was really important that she donated directly to the fundraiser, not through another software, in order to contribute to that fundraising goal. And I think we've all been at that experience, right? Your friend sends you a GoFundMe, or your kid at your school is running a specific fundraiser, or we had one where I had a colleague who was fundraising to adopt a child. And it's really important that that money goes directly to that individual's fundraiser, not just to the nonprofit in general. And so what we were able to share with our employees is this impact card. And they're able to take their wallet funds and donate in person or directly on a website and actually contribute the money directly to that fundraiser while tracking it in the software. So they don't have to do the standard practice right now, right? We've probably all experienced it. You log into a fundraiser, you take your credit card, you donate with your credit card, you then have to download that receipt, re-upload the receipt, and then track it that way. Sure, the nonprofit technically is getting both your donation and the match, but you're not getting credit on that fundraiser, and there's a delay in time, right? The one donation is going now, this match is going who knows when. Could be a month, it could be 6 months, depending on the process. But this employee was able to make that donation and her match immediately. And so she was able to donate both, I think it was $25 and then a $25 match, all $50 went straight to her stepdaughter's fundraiser. Her stepdaughter got credit for $50, not $25, as it was an individual donation as you make with a credit card. So it's really easy to see how, like, in the moment, she was able to make a bigger impact, very specifically to the cause that she was interested in. Again, it wasn't just that she was donating $50. If she was donating $50, her donation plus her match directly to an individual fundraiser. And she did it on the individual fundraiser's platform, but she could have also done it in person.
All right, gang. I think this is our last slide, and if we have a minute, we could probably do a question or two. But just to kind of pull it all together for you, everything that we've been trying to share with you today, it's really trying to come back towards a singular shift or a singular perspective. We stopped and paused and realized that we needed to stop designing our program around the platform and started designing it around our people. Really listening to their wants and needs and proclivities and what makes them unique. And when we refreshed our thinking around how we think about things like funding and recognition and timing and participation, not to just add features, but to remove friction and increase meaning, that's when we really had that aha moment. In this table here on the left, you can see what we changed. These weren't just product decisions, these were actually culture decisions that are going to be in our program, but also, of course, in our software. And the right side, that's where we're actually telling the real story. Some of the things that we learned are things like meaning and convenience. They're not having to be competing priorities. They can actually and probably should coexist. Another thing we learned, the more we meet employees in the places they already work and connect, things like Slack, Teams, and mobile, the more naturally giving will start to happen. Another thing we realized, of course, is recognition isn't purely about the acknowledgement. It's also can serve as a very, very important and open door to impact. And the last thing is when we support multiple giving styles, we can stop excluding people who might otherwise want to participate. Not everybody is going to be an impulse giver. Some folks are going to be these more, cautious, slower, social investors. So ideally, we want to be able to support, if I can date myself here, both the tortoise and the hare. And most importantly, when employees are really helping shape the experience, the program actually becomes theirs. It's not the company's program, it's their program. It's something that is really resonating with who they are and how they want to be interacted with. And of course, some of this required us to build some new tools, but all of it required listening much more closely to the people that we hoped we would engage. All right.
All right. We've got one question, and I would love to hear probably Sam's opinion on this since he was a practitioner in the space, but Chris as well. So for Emily asks, any insights on programs being ongoing or having campaigns or open application periods?
Uh,
I'll just start, Chris. Like I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer there. There's been, organizations do it successfully both ways. I think if you're a very employee-centric organization, choice is always great, and that means that employees have the ability to contribute to nonprofits or causes, like when the mood strikes, when the moment strikes, and that they're not sort of locked into particular, periods of time to do that. But that's just a perspective. And I think that, again, you can be successful doing it either way.
I've seen some companies be really successful having like a bit of a blend of both. So yes, technically
Yes,
from the
cool.
software side, it's an evergreen program, meaning it's always open. But once Labor Day kicks off, you would actually start to have a concerted effort to get new folks to sign up and everything, maybe do some incentives around it. And you're able to persist those contributions that are happening, forever and ever, basically on autopilot. But you also have an opportunity to sign up new folks that really weren't aware of the program to begin with.
And with that, we are at time. So I would like to thank Sam, Madison, and Chris for spending the time putting together this presentation and sharing this very insightful information. I think the participants found it really valuable. I want to thank all the participants for joining us today. We do want your feedback, so please fill out our very short survey before you log off. There's a QR code on the screen, and my colleague dropped the survey link into the chat. And it'll take about a minute, so you can do it really quickly. And I do hope that we see you all for our last CSR Marketplace virtual session at 4 p.m. Eastern today, and that you download all the recordings for the sessions that you may have missed. I do hope that you to see you all at an upcoming ACCP event very soon. So thanks again. Have a great rest of your afternoon and great rest of your week.